start rounding to the hundreds. Our lesson will be rounding to the hundreds. Rounding numbers. Our steps to the lesson today will be review number sense from 0 to 10 using a number line. Expand number sense using game board from 100 to 200, counting by tens. Practice place the numbers between the correct tens from 100 to 200. Identify middle number between 200 and 300 to the round. Demonstrate how to round numbers to the hundreds using the tens place, and then practice. And then I'll share my contact information with you. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to understand numbers by using the number line. We did this once before, about 2 weeks ago, for tens when we're rounding to the tens. Today we're rounding to the hundreds, but this is very basic and it's really building your number sense. So we're going to practice it one more time. 0 and 10 are our anchor numbers. 5 is our mid number. Anything below 4, you round to the lower number. Anything above 5 or above, you round to the higher number in the tens. Okay, so our number sense is understanding where these numbers are placed. So between 0 and 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 fit in between 0 and 5. Between 5 and 10, 6, 7, 8, 9 fit between 5 and 10. 5 is our middle number. Anchor numbers are 0 and 10. Very important in our number sense. All these numbers will show up in every number throughout every hundreds, thousands, just so that you know where your numbers are placed. It's really very important for your basic learning of math. The next thing we're going to do is understanding numbers, 100 to 200. And this is our game board, and it's by tens. So we worked with 100 being our anchor, 200 being our anchor. The mid number is 150. If we're working in our tens, it's the same as our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anything below 4 is going to round to the lower 100. Anything 5 and above is going to round to the higher 100. So we're looking at our numbers and we can still see zeros here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then this would be our 10. If you're thinking back to your basic number line, then you'll see these numbers visually in your head the same way you saw 1 to 10, although these are into hundreds. So now we have 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. So anything 140 and below is rounded to the 100. Anything 150 and above is rounded to 200. Okay? Understanding numbers 100 to 200 and placing them in the correct order. So on this number line, similar to the number line the game board previous, we have 100 as our anchor, 150 as our center, and 200 as our other anchor. If we're placing our numbers in between, we're not really rounding, we're just knowing where to place our numbers. So just like the other number line, this is all by tens. 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, 160, 170, 180, 190, 200. That's our base number line in the center here, going across. These are the numbers that we placed in their correct spots. 112 fits between 110 and 120, so this is where it would belong. Now, if we were going to round to one or the other of these, we would be rounding closer to 110. but we're just placing our numbers right now. So this is where understanding where our numbers belong. 112 belongs between 110 and 120. 129 belongs between 120 and 130. 137 belongs between 130 and 140. 144 belongs between 140 and 150. 151 belongs between 150 and 160. 168 fits between 160 and 170. 175 fits right in the middle between 170 and 180. 186 is between 180 and 190, and 193 fits between 190 and 200. So understanding where these numbers are placed and recognizing their number sequence is really very important. Having that number sense to know where to place them and be sure that they're in the proper positions. Understanding numbers and finding the middle number between 200 and 300 to get ready to round. So 200 is the anchor, 300 is the other anchor. 200 is the lower end, 300 is the higher end. 250 is the center. As we've talked about before, 4 and below, we're going to be rounding to the lower 200. 5 and above, we're going to be rounding to the larger 300. In this, you are going to notice that you're going to be using this 10 spot. This middle number is going to be the number that talks to the first number. So that's the number we're looking at, the 10 spot. So the 5, the 4, the 3, the 2, the 1 is going to tell you what the 100 spot's going to do. So any number on this side, the left side of the 250, is rounding to 200. Any number on the right side of 250 and 250 itself will round to 300. So the rules: rounding numbers to the hundreds, steps to rounding the to the hundreds. Use your number sense we just went over. Round to the hundreds. Our blue lettering is hundreds. So when we look at our numbers, we're going to see blue numbers. That's your hundreds. You must use the number to the right in the tens, which will be red column. If the tens column is 4 or below, then you round to the lower 100. If the tens column is 5 or above, you round to the higher 100. Now we're going to look at an example right underneath there. So right underneath there is an example of 230 to the nearest hundreds. So if we look at 230 to the nearest hundreds, you see the red. Like I told you, all these words say red, tens. This is your red. Tens talks to the 100 spot. This 0 right here has nothing to do with anything at this point. You're using your tens position to talk to your hundreds position. So your tens place is telling your hundreds place what to do. If this is a 3, it falls in the lower end of the number scale because 3 is smaller than 4. So then this 230 gets rounded to 200. Okay? So, as I said, there's one spot, which is the 0. You do nothing with that. The 3, the 10 spot, talks to the 100 spot and tells the 100 spot what to do. Since this 3 is smaller than 4, then you are rounding to 200. When you round to 200, the only number that gets a number spot is the 100 spot. The 10s and the 1s turn into 0s. Let's practice. Let's go up to the top here. All right, let's see. Set this up a little better. This is our practice page. So the first one on the page is the 230 that we just worked with. So 230, ones has nothing to do with anything. The tens is talking to the hundreds. The hundreds is being told by the tens, because it's a 3 and it's smaller than 4, that we're rounding to 200. When we get to the rounding portion, you only have a number in the hundred spot, and both the tens and the ones turn into zeros. That's what rounding is. You're rounding everything behind what is identified to be round. So we're talking about the hundred spot. That means tens and ones just stay zeros. We go to 351. This number 1 has nothing to do with anything. As we said, this 1 spot will not have anything to do with what happens with this 100 spot. The 10 spot in the red here does. So this 10 spot is talking to the 100 spot. The 5 is telling the 3 that it's got to do what? It has to move up, because 5 is larger. So anything 5 and above moves to the larger 100. So this 5 tells this 3 to turn into a 4, which turns into a 400. The 2 spots and the 1s and the 10s, again, turn into zeros. So this 351 rounds to 400. This number here is 445. This number 5 has nothing to do with anything. 4 in the 10 spot is telling the 100 spot what to do. The 4 or below tells that 4 ahead of it that it's going to stay. So you are going to turn this into, round it to 400, because the ones in the 10 spot turn into zeros. So 445 rounds down to 400, because this is a 4, and any 4 and below rounds down, not up. 593, 3 in the 1 spot has nothing to do with anything. So we're just going to discard that. We're not looking at that. We're looking at the 10 spot. We're looking at the spot to the right of the number that we're rounding. The number we're rounding is underlined, the 100 spot. So the 9 is talking to the 5. Since this 9 is above 5 in the number line, 5 and above, we move it up to the higher number. So this 9 is telling this 5 to change to 600. 600. So that 9 is telling that 5 to turn into a 6. And that 6 is in the 100 spot. The 2 zeros behind it take the place of the 9 and the 3, and we round to 600. 593 rounds up to 600. The next number is 687. 687, 686, I'm sorry. 686. 6 doesn't matter. We're not talking about the 6. We are only talking about the 10 spot. The 10 spot is talking to the 100 spot. 8 is telling 6 what to do. If 8 is higher than 5, then it's telling 6 to move forward into the higher number. So 686 rounds to 700. Again, this 8 and 6 just turn into zeros. The only number that changes over is here, the 7. So 700. We're rounding. We don't need any numbers behind that. If we're rounding to 100, we just need the 100. So it's 700. I hope this explains rounding to the hundreds. This is my contact information, boys and girls. I know we're coming towards the end of the year, and may have some questions. Parents might have questions. Please feel free to email me at klrudy@weiner.edu. I check my emails between 9 and 3:30, and I respond within 24 hours. I actually check my emails a little bit more often, but standard, I try to keep it between 9 and 3:30. If anyone needs me, though, please feel free to contact me at any time of the day. You also can message me through Dojo or Google Classroom. And I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy. Have a great week, and I'll see you on Wednesday at Zoom.